Welcome to Unstoppable Real Estate Investing Wealth. My name is Billy Alvaro, aka the Unstoppable BA, former billion-dollar mortgage banker, gone bankrupt, turned professional real estate investor. Where each week you'll learn the tools, strategies, systems, and secrets myself and other highly successful real estate investing entrepreneurs use to start, grow, and scale their businesses, creating massive profits, and how you can too. And we'll teach you how to put those profits to work so you no longer have to. Get ready to finally experience financial freedom and generational wealth. Now let's get started. What's going on, guys? This is Billy Alvaro, the Unstoppable BA, and you're listening to another episode of Unstoppable REI Wealth, where I'll teach you the tools, tips, tricks, strategies, systems, and secrets, that's a mouthful, on how I built my business to a multi-million-dollar real estate investment company, and how a lot of the people I'm interviewing, how they've started, grown, and scaled their business. And I have people I'm interviewing that have multi-million-dollar businesses doing 600 deals a year, 50 deals a month. I have other people that are in that phase that I've been interviewing that are just starting to grow their business. And I have others that I want to get you the perspective and give you the perspective, rather, of those people who are just starting out, what they're doing, what struggles they're facing, so you can get a whole holistic view of what it takes to start, grow, and scale your real estate investing business. Now, as you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening, you might hear a little background noise. I am multitasking and doing this podcast in my vehicle, and the reason being is we are extremely busy both in New York and New Jersey on the wholesale side of the business, on the renovation side of the business, and on the development side of the business. We have multiple projects that we've undertaken, and my time really is limited. So for me to quantify and to get as much done in a 24-hour time frame, I'm learning to do things with multitasking. I've done that my whole life, but this whole podcast thing for the vehicle is just one more thing that I'm implementing in to keep putting out content, but at the same time making sure that my jobs are running smooth. So I'm running from job to job today because my project manager, this is one of the challenges you face. My project manager took a shit, basically fried himself out after 5 weeks on the job, couldn't handle the stress and the pressure, and that's a whole nother subject with hiring, but we were dribbling out jobs to him to get him acclimated, and he just didn't have the mental and or the emotional fiber to get through what it takes to run, and he was only doing 3. I didn't give him all the jobs because I learned the past you can't crush people. So that's the reason why I'm running around today. Today's episode, I want to speak, last couple episodes we went on, it was all about marketing. Today I want to speak to you about, because it's timely, I want to speak to you about due diligence, specifically with rehabbing. Now look, if you're a wholesaler, there's not a lot of due diligence you're going to have to do at all. As a matter of fact, you're probably going to do none. You're going to tie a property up in the contract, you're going to then take that property, put it out to your buyers list, and it's your buyers, guys like me, who are going to be renovating those properties, that the due diligence really falls on our shoulders. So let's go through the importance of due diligence, the importance of the items of what you should do. I'll tell you exactly what we do and how we do it and how it has uncovered certain things that we otherwise wouldn't have known about if we didn't do the due diligence, and it could have cost us 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand. In some cases, we could have bought deals where we couldn't do anything with them because the property was actually over the property line and there was no way for us to rectify it without knocking down the house. So first and foremost, let's go through the due diligence process. So what are the specific items that should happen when you're buying a property for to either renovate and flip or to renovate and hold as a rental? So I'll tell you what we do. First thing we do, New York, New Jersey, we get a property under contract. Number one, first thing that we do is we hire a home inspector to go into that house. Now, some people out there may be saying, you do renovations. Why in the hell would you want to hire a home inspector to go out to the property? And it's simple. He or she is going to find things behind the walls, things that you can't see, your project manager can't see when you're going out there, and he's going to put a flashlight, he's going to illuminate the potential issues and tell you, here's an issue we see, you may want to contact a roofing specialist or a septic specialist or a foundation specialist to go through and do further research. So every property we get that we're going to rehab or rent, my operations girl gets a trigger in Podio, and she automatically, after we have in New Jersey it's called an attorney review. After attorney review is up, and in New York it's during our home inspection process. We usually have 21 days to do our due diligence. It's in that time frame that she orders the home inspection. Now, what our home inspectors do is they go in and they just rip apart the house, knowing that we're going to be renovating everything. We don't care about light switches not working or certain things, or small things. We're looking for big ticket items or hidden items that may not be present to the naked eye. So let me give you some instances of how this has saved our ass. So in the state of New Jersey, we had a home inspection done, and we had the home inspected, and they found out that the sill plates were completely rotted out with termite damage. Now, to the naked eye, the house looked like it was in pretty good condition. Looked like it was actually fine. We were gonna, do a little interior redevelopment. Home inspector went in, he checked out all the sills, and he said completely the sill plates are rotted. He started poking through with a pick and found out not only the sill plates rotted on the whole basement, that one of the walls was collapsing in. Couldn't see it because he had it framed on the outside. He started doing a little research and found out termite damage was extenuous throughout the sill plates, both on the first floor and the second floor, where the whole back and right-hand side of the house needed to be reframed. And the downstairs basement wall was collapsing. It had major structural cracks that you couldn't see from the outside, and the only reason why he did it from the inside is he started poking. He cut a little hole in the sheetrock and saw how bad the cement was behind the wall. So, home inspections. What else can we find out with home inspections? What are the other things that have been brought to light with us? Termite damage is a huge one. I'm not talking minor termite damage. I'm talking major shit where stuff is gonna collapse. You have to reframe. We also found through our home inspection due diligence process that the septic tanks were completely blown out. Now, when we do our home inspections, for us, we do home inspection, we do a septic cert, we'll do a cesspool cert, we'll do an oil tank cert or sweep, especially in New Jersey, to see if there's any oil tanks underground. And those inspections are going to bring to light a lot of the bullshit that you would otherwise not know that can cost you mega bucks. With the septic inspection, so we had a situation out in Marlboro, New Jersey, where we got the home inspected. Home inspector said, look, I see that this place has an older septic tank. You might want to get it inspected further, do due diligence. So it cost us another $350 to have that septic tank inspected. And what we found is that it was at its life expectancy. It was just at its life expectancy. So if we would have renovated, not done the inspection on the septic, thought everything was good, and then tried to resell that property, and our buyer came in and did his own home inspection with the cert, he would have realized that the septic tank was at its last life leg. It would have ran about $28,000 to put this new septic system in, and they would have wanted us to either give them a seller's credit or to replace the septic. So a mere $350 inspection fee up front saved us a $28,000 expense, because once we got that report back, we went back to the seller and we negotiated with the seller and simply said, look, we had our inspection, we're buying the property as is based on what we can see, but after we did our due diligence, we found that the septic system was at its last leg. It's a $28,000 expense. We had 2 or 3 different bids that we got. We gave it to them. We settled on the medium bid, and the seller ended up giving us a $28,000 credit at the closing. So it's important. If we didn't do that, our profit margin would have went from $70,000 down to about $30,000, $35,000. That's real money out of your pocket. That's why the due diligence, I can't stress enough. It is so freaking important if you're going to rehab or to flip or rehab to rent, that you, in your due diligence deal, your due diligence process, that you take your time and go through the steps. Don't deviate from doing your due diligence, because the time you do, it's going to bite you in the ass. Another example of how due diligence has saved our ass. We're doing the property right now over here in Nine Pine. We call it the London Bridge property. And with that house, we knew what we were buying. We were buying an absolute piece of shit, and we got it at a great number, $70,000. Just because we got it so low below market, and just because we knew this house needed everything, do you think we still went through and got it all inspected? We did. And I'll tell you why, because there was still things that our naked eye could not see. So the first thing we found out is that the septic lines from the sewer lines from the house to out into the street were blown out. They had infiltration with roots, which means they were blown out. Now, I didn't renegotiate with the seller on that because I said, all right, we're buying the house as is. It's going to cost us a few grand more, not much. But just knowing about it up front, we were able to add that into the budget so there were no surprises. However, one of the big things that we found with doing a home inspection is we had what's called an oil tank sweep. Now, depending on where you're at in certain parts of the country, oil tanks were buried in the ground. And in New Jersey, New York, they're buried a lot, especially in the older houses. And when those tanks are buried in the ground, they over time, they erode and they sometimes leak. And if they do leak and it's known, you could have a major problem with the DEC. So what we did with this property is we mandated prior to going to closing, part of our due diligence process in the first 30 days that we had it was to do a oil tank sweep. We found there was an oil tank. At that moment in the state of New Jersey, different from New York, in the state of New Jersey, it's mandated. You can't extract. Nobody will like try to hurt their license. They will make sure that if there's a buried oil tank, you have to go through the proper channels, unless you get a bunch of guys in at night and you dig that thing up. I did not want to go down that road, so what we did is we had a company test. We extracted the oil tank because we had to extract it. As we extracted it, mandated that they do a soil test to see if any oil leaked, and lo and behold, what happened? The freaking oil was in the soil. It came down, and I can't remember the exact numbers. It was either $21,000 or $27,000 in the due diligence process that it was going to run us to remediate. So we immediately went to the seller. We gave them the report, and we said, look, this is going to have to happen no matter what. You have contamination, and we'll pay for and we agreed up front, we'll pay to have the tank extracted. But if there is any contamination, that's going to be on you. We negotiated that up front. And so we went to them, and they had to pay that money out of pocket to get the soil remediated. And so if we didn't do that, that would have come out of our pocket. It would have run us, $20-something thousand to remediate that soil, where we did all the tests up front. We were able to negotiate it up front. We got that credit up front, and we got everything remediated. So just to show you a couple of these things that it's important when you're doing your due diligence to take care of, right? So one of the other things we just experienced in the due diligence process is surveys. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, in the beginning when I was house flipping, I very rarely on Long Island had surveys. And I'm like, what am I gonna waste my money for $750 for a survey? If the fence is out of line a little bit, I'll deal with it with the next buyer and I'll take care of it. And it works and it's good until it doesn't. And we got bit in the ass years back, and we got bit in the ass to a point where it cost us, $10, $15, $20,000 because we could not come up with a number that was going to be good. Otherwise, we would have had to. There was a driveway and stone and walls that were on our property, and because we didn't do our due diligence, it was a disaster. So we made it a point now. Every time we buy a property, if this old seller doesn't have a survey, we go in, and our due diligence process is we order a new one. Here's an example of how this just saved our ass on a deal that if we would have closed on it, just as recently, if we would have closed on it, this deal would have cost us the purchase price of the property. What we did is we got the survey done. Little house, we called the Three Little Piggies house because this thing looked like a fucking shack. If you would have sneezed, it would have blown over. The Three Little Piggies house out on 440 North Main, we had the survey done. The seller was selling the property extremely cheap. We thought it was selling it cheap because it's a shack. Everything has to get redone. What we come to find is the house itself, all the land around the house, rather, first, was sold off to the United States of America. So that's like red flag number one. Why would the United States of America, why was this property donated? I'm talking acreage, like 40 acres around this one house is all owned by the United States of America. Then the survey showed us that the house itself, on the property line, there was 10 foot of our property that was unknown as to who owned it, and our house was over our property line 6 foot onto the the United States of America property. And so here's what would have happened. If we would have closed on this house, and we would have renovated this house, and we would have put this house back on the market, the new buyer would have gotten a survey. The new buyer would have realized that 6 or 8 foot of our house, not our land, our house, was built over the property line. And because it's owned by the United States of America, who the hell are we going to go to try to work and deal with? It never would have happened. So we would have closed on that house, renovated that property, gone through the process of getting it fully permitted, and at the end when we tried to sell, we would have realized not sellable because the house is on the property line. So what are our options? What can we do to save this deal? Well, the only option is to knock the house down and to rebuild the house in the middle of the lot lines to conform with the area. After we did our due diligence and realized that regardless of how cheap we're getting it, the resale values of the houses in this area with the cost of lumber, the cost of build, it's not going to be justified to close on it. It cost us $1,500, but we saved ourselves probably about $175,000 in expenses and fees and purchase price and closing costs and rehab costs because that house never would have been able to sell. So, look guys, this is going to be a short and sweet podcast. It all comes down to, my clock is going off. It all comes down to due diligence. If you do your diligence up front, it's going to save your ass down the road. Don't look at it as a bullshit expense that you're forced to pay and that you're otherwise not going to do. It's a few $100s. It could be up to $1,000, $1,500, depending on what you're actually inspecting or having your due diligence process looked at. But that money, I look at it as an insurance policy. And eventually, it's going to save your ass. Or it could make you more money, as in the cases with the oil tank and the cases with the rock with the house where we had to renegotiate. So it can be used as a renegotiation tool to cut back on the purchase price if it warrants it. But it can also be utilized to save your ass for those deals that if you would have closed on it, you couldn't sell it, you couldn't flip it, you would have been out whatever the purchase price was, rehab costs, and everything else. So this podcast is all about due diligence. This podcast is for those who are buying, renovating, and flipping, or buying and holding. I can't stress to you enough the importance of going through and doing your due diligence. Now, a lot of the other things that we do, that's like on the property itself. What we do in New York and in New Jersey, New York, it's called a FOIL request, F-O-A-I, Freedom of Information Act request. And in New Jersey, it's called an OPRA request, Open Public Records. Now, why is this important? This is all part of our due diligence. We do this to find out what was permitted on the property, what was not permitted on the property, are there any violations on the property, what are the C of O's on the property called for? So, New Jersey, we pull an OPRA report. We'll find out instantaneously within a few hours to a week, depending on the municipality that we're pulling it, every open violation and closed violation on that house. And why is that important? So with the violations, we want to know, is there a violation for, I don't know, an illegal extension put off the back that they never closed out, or an open permit that they never closed out for a bathroom that they put in. It's important to know this, so when you're going in to do your due diligence or to flip this property, we had one that we got in a contract, we realized that there was an added bathroom that they told us was permitted, it was an open permit for it. If we didn't do the open report, and by the way, this house needed no work. We were buying it, closing on it, relisting it, and selling it. If we didn't catch on that open report that bathroom didn't have an open permit, and we would have tried to resell, and we had a buyer come in, it would have bit us in the ass, because then we would have had to have gone in, we would have had to open up walls, had the town come in, get a survey done, all this bullshit in the back end. It would have cost us time, money, and energy. We just do it up front. So it saves your ass again when you do the Oprah reports or the FOIA reports. Another thing the due diligence with the Oprah and the FOIA does is it tells you any open permits, like I just said, for the C of Os. What's C of O in the property? Do you have a C of O for that second edition extension that was put up? We just had a house in Long Island that we just got done in the due diligence phase. We had 9 months to get the property approved for with the town. So here's what happened. The guy had a house that he put on a second story addition over the garage and an extension off the back. He went through, but he never actually finalized the permits. Didn't finalize them because he needed an approval through zoning because he was too close to the property line and he had to go through and get an exception. And so what we did is we negotiated with this guy. Instead of us closing on the property and taking 8 to 9 months, because in Long Island that's how long it takes, 8 or 9 months to get this deal approved with the town and go through the process of expediting and surveys and hearings and the zoning board, we said, look, we'll do this all up front on our dime. You keep the property in your name. Let us go through and get this approved. And once we get it approved, we're closed. It took us 9 months and close to $15,000. But now we have a property that's 100% permitted that we can turn around, do a small lipstick renovation, put it back on the market and sell. So again, guys, the due diligence process, use it to your favor. You can get discounts off of price. You can get discounts off of price because of issues that are not seen to the naked eye. What I don't want you to use it for is don't use it to negotiate with the sellers on bullshit items. You're in the business of buying properties for cash based on what you're seeing. So if the boiler is bad, your engineer comes back, your home inspector comes back and says the boiler is bad, you're looking at it, you see the house is shit. Don't try to utilize that as a tactic to negotiate a lower price because the boiler is bad. I'm talking about high ticket items that are going to cost you down the road when you're trying to redevelop or resell this thing. Those are the things that you want to bring to light and then renegotiate with the sellers. The bullshit items, you're buying the property. That's what you're buying it for. You're buying it to renovate it. But if you have a wall that's falling down the foundation and you can't see it, you didn't calculate that into your cost when you made your offer, you're going to have to go back in and renegotiate. If you have the house all termite written, which you couldn't see, and the whole thing needs to be reframed and you didn't calculate that in up front, and you find that out part of your due diligence process, go back and renegotiate. I have another example. We have a property down here in Toms River where it's a small house. The house looks like it's in pretty decent condition. It's a lipstick renovation. It's a cottage. It's like 900 square feet. Lipstick renovation of $20,000. You're talking a kitchen, a bath, paint, some trim, and some floors. A small house. We had the home inspection done. They came back and the whole entire back of the house is not sitting on the right support joists, the right support beams. It's not holding it up the right way, and the whole back of the house is actually sinking in. And so that now has to get jacked up, and we have to redo the whole back of the house supporting it. And so that's going to run us some money. We have to go back in now and renegotiate with the seller of that property. If we didn't know that, and we didn't take the $700 or $750 to go do the due diligence with the home inspector, we would have come in way over budget because we only budgeted 20 grand. Well, now it's going to run us like 35 because we have to jack the house. So you see how you can utilize this as a tool? And look, if the sellers don't want to renegotiate, that's fine. But now you're not going to buy a property where you would put all this money in and break even. You're now going to buy the property. You're still going to make your 10 or 15 or 20%, whatever you're going to do. So guys, hope this podcast helped. I hope you can hear me because I'm talking from the car. This is Billy Alvaro from Unstoppable REI Wealth. Now, if you're a wholesaler, if you're a renovator, if you're a home buyer that wants to buy long-term, go to BillySecrets.com. I have a lot of the tools and tips and tricks that I've been utilizing, and a lot of my podcast guests have utilized over the years. Certain guys that do radio or TV or lists or driving for dollars, where we buy, how we do our marketing, all those certain items are on BillySecrets.com. I put it on there as a very simple way for you to go in and search what you're looking for, get the information that you need. It's readily available. Instead of texting me, IMing me, PMing me, it's all there, one specific area for you to find. Also, if you're a if you're a realtor, New York, New Jersey, we have a realtor program that we just launched that is absolutely crushing it. I'm going to show you how you can get an additional 10 deals a year and how you could triple up on your commissions. It's a very unique program. I'm only launching it right now for New York and New Jersey. If you're interested in that program, go to BillyAlvaro.com, log on to that site, go to the Joint Ventures with Billy, a partner with Billy. Do that. Tell me you're a realtor. I'll have one of the people on my staff get back to you. We will coordinate a call. You'll be speaking with me direct, and we will get you launched into that program. We right now have a half dozen agents, 3 in each state that we've been working with, and it's working out brilliantly because the agents are able to make, in a very tough market right now, they're able to make higher commissions working with us based on the way we've structured these deals. We're basically bringing you in as a joint venture partner, and it's a wonderful, wonderful way for you to get involved with real estate investing without having any of the money outlay, and where you can make double and sometimes even triple the commissions. It's a no-brainer. So if you're into that, hit me up. And that's it, guys. I wish you all the best. Remember, nothing happens unless you take action. Get out there. Make it happen on a daily basis. Know that you're going to come up against brick walls. You're going to have issues. You're going to trip and fall and fail. You got to get yourself back up and keep pressing forward. Peace out. I'll catch you on the next one.